The boogeyman is coming. Welcome to the Dave Cave. I, as always, am Dave, and today we're going to be talking the 1978 classic that brought us The Man in the White Mask and really kickstarted the whole slasher rivalry of the 80s, and that is Halloween. You all know this, but we're doing it anyway. Halloween was directed by John Carpenter, stars Donald Pleasence, and introduces the whole world to Jamie Lee Curtis. And just in case you somehow haven't seen this movie, the general plot is that after killing his sister at age 6, Michael Myers is committed to Smith's Grove Sanitarium, and for 15 years sits there, does absolutely nothing. Then, on 1978 Halloween, decides to go home, and upon going home, becomes infatuated or obsessed with this group of new kids, and decides, yep, that's what I'm doing this Halloween, and goes after them. The only trick is that hot on his trail is his psychiatrist, Dr. Sam Loomis. Now, I've been waiting to get to these Halloween reviews, so we're going to dive right in and get to the good. The first thing I want to talk about with Halloween is the intro. It's kind of becoming a tradition that I love the intros in a lot of these movies. This movie is probably my favorite. You have the whole credits scene where it's super simple. You just have the pumpkin and you have the Halloween theme playing over it. Love the shit out of Halloween theme. It's probably my favorite bit of music in all of cinema. I love it. It's very simple, very effective. And then you get to the long pan POV shot of Michael Myers watching his sister, her boyfriend, gets the knife, goes upstairs, does the whole hoopla. And then you get the reveal after he goes out that his dad pulls off his mask, and it's holy shit, this little kid. It's a great little opening scene. It's not perfect. We'll talk about that later, but I love that intro. It's a perfect start to what that movie is. The next thing I want to talk about is I love the music in this movie. It's a simple score, super simple score. It uses mostly the same notes over and over again in different beats and different rhythms, but I love it. John Carpenter, Alan Howarth, they came together and made this movie with the music. Without the music, this movie had no traction to it. But they added the music and it was like, oh shit, yeah, nope, that's it. This music in this movie, I don't think there's another movie in this series that uses music as effectively as the original does. They get moments in the rest of the series where the music is like, oh yeah, no, that was good shit. This movie, the entire runtime, the music is perfect. The last thing I want to talk about that I like in this movie, it really none of these things that I like are groundbreaking. They're things that a lot of different people like, and by this point, you're watching me gush, but I love Donald Pleasence in this movie. He's so good in and of himself. But you have this indie flick and a bunch of kids throwing this movie together, and you bring in Donald Pleasence. And does he phone it in? No. He gives this role everything. And it's because he gives this role everything that the rest of the movie really has the gravity it does. If he didn't go for broke in how much he is afraid of Michael Myers and how much everybody else should be afraid of Michael Myers, I don't think Michael Myers would have landed the way he did with everybody. Because everything else is creepy. Sure, you have the mask breathing, you have the music, like I said, you have Jamie Lee Curtis's performance, but Donald Pleasence's performance, he's really what gives all the backstory to Michael. He has his couple speeches, which are awesome. They're creepy and they're iconic as shit. And I'm going to try to not make it a recurring theme in the whole Halloween series and reviewing these, but he gave his all in this one, and he pedaled to the metal all the way through 6. Well, except for 3. This man gave Dr. Loomis everything, and I'm very thankful for that. But while I do love this movie, because I do, I'm not going to try to hide it or push it off. I love Halloween. The original Halloween is great to me. But it is not without its flaws. So let's get right into the bad. The first thing that always kind of throws me off about Halloween is that numerous times in this movie, the dubbing is off. And laughably off in terms of the dialogue. You get some of it in the intro, you get some of it with Laurie's dad, and you get some of it later, here and there. But when it happens, you're like, oh, yeah, nope. Especially when you've seen it a lot. Because I've seen this movie, again, I couldn't tell you how many times I've watched Halloween. so there's not an edge to it. It's more enjoyable. But when you watch it and you can just watch the movie and not have to worry about the suspense, you notice these things that are just like, oh, son of a bitch. Yeah, that was really not good. Now, it's not to say that I expect this movie to be amazing in terms of production quality. This was an indie flick. I get that. But especially now, it's really noticeable. The next thing I want to talk about kind of follows in that same vein, in that there are a lot of logistical and editing issues in this movie. I'm sure you know them, but when you have the instant midnight darkness, that is just glaringly obvious. And when they talk about the Doyles being 3 houses down from the Wallaces, 3 or 4 houses down, but then they're across the street from each other, it doesn't make logistical sense. It just doesn't. And that just might be me being nitpicky, but I never really liked that. It's the little things like that that really take away from this movie being perfect, because it's damn near perfect. Don't get me wrong, I said it before. I love the shit out of this movie. But it's in loving it that I guess I'm kind of more prone to picking it apart. And there is one more thing I want to be a little bit nitpicky on, is when Laurie is running from Michael for the first time from the Wallace house to the Doyle house. Before that, they make this whole point that she grabs the keys out of her knitting bag, puts them in her pocket, and she leaves. But when she leaves, she doesn't actually lock the door. And then she leaves, goes, does the whole thing, is running from Michael, gets back to the house. She tries for the keys. Doesn't make sense why she stops, but the door's unlocked, at least as far as we saw. Logistical problems. Again, it's nitpicky. It is. But that takes away from me when I'm actually watching this movie. Okay, I don't like talking bad about Halloween, so we're going to get that out of the way. We're going to get back to some fun with the blood, the guts, the kills, the ugly. Halloween does not have a big body count at all. There are 5 kills spread over 15 years, and really only attention is given to 4 of them. You got Judith, Bob, Annie, Linda. Those kills are all great kills because they're simple. They're kills you can believe happened. You have this young girl at the beginning, Judith, who, if you're really not paying attention and you don't know what's going on, a 6-year-old could stab the shit out of you. It's a terrifying prospect because you don't expect it. It's just a 6-year-old kid, and then boom, deadzo. Fast forward to 1978, and what I never really put together in this movie, and I don't know why, but every kill that Michael performs as an adult, initially at least, they all go for the throat. He strangles all 3 of his main victims in this movie. He strangles Annie, kills her, leaves her on the horn. Strangles Bob, but then picks him up and sticks him to the wall, and then he strangles Linda. He's a strangler. What's so fucking awesome about that for me is that it's an intimate kill. Like I said, it's simple, and you can believe that it would happen. Really, the Bob kill is him displaying his strength and giving him more of a, oh, like he's an imposing dude. It's supposed to give a little bit extra fear to it, but still feels real. But while almost every kill in this movie is iconic in terms of horror and cinema, it's pretty easy for me to pick what my favorite is. So my award for favorite kill of Halloween 1978 goes to Bob. He just got done handling business with Linda, goes downstairs for some after nookie beers, and is looking around, and Michael comes out of another door and strangles him, picks him up, boom, sticks him to a door. Great scene. And then you have Nick Castle just staring him down. Does the head tilt, does the head tilt, does the head tilt. It's so simple. It's so frightening in its strength. It's awesome. It really, really is. Of the kills in this movie, not only is it my favorite, you could argue very well that it's the most iconic. And now it is time for my final thoughts on John Carpenter's Halloween. As I've said over and over again in this review, I love this movie. It is easily one of my top movies of all time. I love the shit out of this movie. It's not that it's spectacular and amazing and oh my god, it deserved Oscars and awards and holy shit. But it's a great movie. It really is. It's awesome. Everything's simple, and because it's simple, it's effective, and it's relatable across the board. One thing I do want to talk about is Jamie Lee Curtis. I really like Jamie Lee Curtis's acting in this movie. It's amazing that this is the movie that introduced her to audiences, and it makes sense that she then built a career after this because she does a very good job. She nails that character perfectly, especially knowing that that's not the type of girl she was at that age and in high school, that she was more cheerleader, preppy, she was more like Linda. So I appreciate that as another level to the character. But there is a but. I am not a gigantic fan of Laurie Strode as a final girl in this movie. She does have her hero moments in this movie. Definitely. She does eventually kind of come into her own. But she isn't all that great when you really think about it. Unfortunately, that's a video for another day. But Jamie Lee Curtis aside, I actually like kind of everybody in this movie in terms of characters. I like Linda. I like Annie. They're not my favorite, but you like them enough. There's really nobody in this movie that you're looking to have die. You don't really want anybody to die in this movie. Changes a little bit when you get to Halloween 2, but in terms of this movie, you want everybody to survive. You know they're not gonna. You know who the cannon fodder is. You know who's going to be the final girl. You know that, you assume that Loomis is going to make it to the end. And that's a good thing. That adds another level of stakes to everything that happens in this movie. But overall, at the end of the day, yes, I love this movie. I will watch this movie anytime you ask me to. Come up to me on any random Tuesday. I don't care what season it is. I don't care what day of the week it is. Dave, you want to watch Halloween? You bet your ass I do. Go throw it in. We're sitting down. And with watching the original Halloween, it's really hard for me to not follow it up with Halloween 2. So that's what I'm going to go do. And the review for that is going to be out on Thursday. Be on the lookout for that. And while you're waiting, I've already reviewed Friday the 13th. I've already reviewed Nightmare on Elm Street. Go check out both of those while you're waiting. I'm going to have links to those in the description below. Be sure to go check those out. And while you're down there, I have links to my Instagram and Twitter. They're both at the @DaveCave_. I post over there when I'm not posting here. And that is going to do it for me today. Thank you so much, as always, for stopping by the Dave Cave. I'll see you on Thursday for Halloween 2. But until then, take care.